Deacon had been watching the sole survivor of Vault 111 from a distance for weeks. He was one of the most powerful people in the post-apocalyptic world, but he kept to himself. All the other survivors had formed alliances and worked together to survive, but the sole survivor seemed to prefer his own company. Deacon was a member of the Railroad, a secret organization devoted to helping the people of the post-apocalyptic world. He had been sent to observe the sole survivor and find out if he could be trusted or if he posed a threat. Deacon had tried to get close to the sole survivor on multiple occasions, but the man seemed to be able to sense his presence and avoid him. He had been forced to resort to spying on the man from a distance. It was a difficult and often frustrating task, but Deacon was determined to complete his mission. He had to know if this man could be trusted or if he was a potential enemy. One day, Deacon decided to take a chance and get closer to the sole survivor. He followed the man from a distance as he went about his daily business, always staying just far enough away to remain undetected. The man seemed to be engaged in some sort of mission, but Deacon was unable to determine what it was. He followed the man for miles, always staying a few steps behind. Finally, the sole survivor stopped in a small clearing in the woods. He produced a strange device from his pocket and began to fiddle with it. Deacon watched from the shadows, but he was too far away to make out what the device was. The man suddenly looked up, as if sensing Deacon's presence. He quickly pocketed the device and began to walk away. Deacon followed him, staying hidden in the shadows of the trees. The man made his way to an abandoned factory, the same one Deacon had seen him visit the day before. He entered the building and quickly disappeared inside. Deacon followed him in, but stayed hidden in the shadows. He watched as the man made his way to a room in the back of the factory. The man opened the door and stepped inside, but Deacon was unable to see what was inside. Deacon waited for what seemed like an eternity, but eventually the man emerged from the room. He was carrying a strange object in his hands, something Deacon had never seen before. The man quickly left the factory, but Deacon followed him. He was determined to find out what the man was up to. Finally, the man stopped at a small shack in the middle of the woods. He unlocked the door and stepped inside, but the door closed behind him before Deacon could get close enough to see inside. Deacon waited outside the shack for what seemed like hours, but eventually the man emerged. He was carrying the same strange object he had taken from the factory. Deacon followed the man back to his home, but he was unable to find out what the object was. He was beginning to believe that the man was up to something sinister, but the truth remained a mystery. Deacon decided to keep watching the man, but from a greater distance. He had to be sure that the man was not a threat before he could make any decisions about him. For the next few weeks, Deacon watched the man from afar. He followed him as he went about his daily business, always keeping a safe distance away. Finally, Deacon had seen enough. He had determined that the man was not a threat and that he could be trusted. Deacon reported his findings to the railroad and they decided that the man could be trusted. They sent a team to meet with him and eventually, the man joined the railroad and became one of their most valuable allies. Deacon had done his job and he was satisfied with the results. He had found out that the sole survivor of Vault 111 was not a threat, but instead a valuable ally. He had done his part to make the post-apocalyptic world a better and safer place. The sun was beginning to set on the horizon, casting a beautiful pink and orange glow across the sky. It was a sight to behold, and one that Steve had seen many times before. But this time, something was different. Steve had just finished setting up his new Minecraft world, and was now standing there, admiring the view. He had spent the last few hours crafting a variety of blocks, structures, and even a few animals. He had worked hard, and the result was something that he was proud of. But what really set this world apart from the others that Steve had built was the fact that it was completely his. He had taken the time to add in his own personal touches, from the intricate stone paths he had crafted to the lush fields of grass and flowers he had grown. This world was Steve's, and he was determined to make the most of it. As the sun continued to dip below the horizon, Steve began to explore his new world. He was amazed by the variety of blocks and structures that he had created, and he found himself getting more and more excited with every step he took. He explored deep into the night, gathering resources and crafting tools along the way. Soon, Steve found himself in a large forest, and he quickly became enamored with the sights and sounds of the creatures that lived there. He explored the tall trees and embraced the peaceful atmosphere of the forest. It was then that Steve realized something. This place was his own, and he could do whatever he wanted with it. He had the power to create whatever he wanted, and he was going to make the most of it. He spent the next few days exploring and gathering resources, and eventually, he had crafted himself an entire village. He had built a variety of homes for the villagers, and he had even created a few shops for them to buy and sell goods. The villagers were overjoyed with Steve's work, and they thanked him profusely. Steve was happy to have been able to provide them with a place of their own, and he was beginning to feel a sense of pride for his accomplishment. With his village complete, Steve decided to take a break and explore some of the other parts of the world. He traveled to the desert, and was amazed by the vastness of the landscape. He also explored an eerie cave, and was amazed by the creatures he found there. After a few weeks of exploration, Steve had gathered a great amount of resources, and crafted himself a variety of tools and weapons. He was ready to take on the world, and he was determined to make it his own. He began to build large structures and monuments, and soon, he had created an entire kingdom. He was the ruler of this world, and he was determined to make it thrive. Steve continued to explore and build, and before long, he had created an entire civilization. People from all over the world began to flock to his kingdom, and he was proud to see it grow and prosper. As the years passed, Steve's kingdom continued to expand and grow. He had created a world for himself and others to live in, and he was proud of what he had accomplished. He had created something beautiful, and something that would last long after he was gone. He had created a world in Minecraft, and he was proud of it. The battle had been raging for days. Plant and zombie forces had been clashing in an all-out intergalactic war for control of the Garden Warfare, a powerful artifact capable of ultimate destruction. Commander Flower, leader of the plant forces, had been determined to protect the Garden Warfare from the zombie invaders. But the zombies had proven to be a formidable opponent, and the battle had been raging for days with no end in sight. Commander Flower had been forced to call for reinforcements, and the plant forces had been bolstered by the arrival of General Sunflower and his elite unit of solar warriors. Armed with their powerful solar weapons, the solar warriors had been able to turn the tide of the battle in favor of the plants. But the zombies had also called for reinforcements, and the arrival of General Brainiac and his powerful zombie forces had thrown the balance of power back in favor of the zombies. The zombie forces had been equipped with powerful laser weapons and advanced robotic soldiers, and the plants were quickly overwhelmed by the superior zombie forces. The situation had become desperate, and Commander Flower had decided to make one final stand. In a desperate attempt to protect the Garden Warfare, Commander Flower had called upon the forces of nature to aid in their defense. Trees, vines, and other plants had sprung up from the ground, forming a barrier between the zombies and the Garden Warfare. The zombie forces had responded in kind, and a brutal space battle had broken out between the two sides. Laser blasts and explosions filled the air as the plant and zombie forces clashed in a desperate attempt to gain control of the Garden Warfare. The battle raged on for what seemed like an eternity, but eventually the plant forces emerged victorious. The zombies had been driven back, and the Garden Warfare had been secured. Commander Flower and the plant forces had saved the Garden Warfare from destruction, and the war had finally come to an end. In the aftermath of the battle, the plant and zombie forces had made peace and had agreed to share the Garden Warfare. As a result, the Garden Warfare had become a symbol of cooperation between the two sides, and a lasting reminder of the importance of understanding and cooperation. The battle for the Garden Warfare had been a hard-fought one, but in the end, the plant and zombie forces had emerged victorious. The Garden Warfare had been saved, and the universe had been made a better place because of it. Steve had been playing Minecraft for years, but he had never been able to take his skills to the next level. He had heard rumors of a way to modify the game with mods, but the developers had kept the details of the process a secret. One day, Steve stumbled upon a website that promised to teach him how to mod Minecraft. He was skeptical at first, but he decided to take a chance and purchase the tutorial. Once he had the tutorial, Steve was able to mod his game and customize it to his liking. He changed the textures, added custom blocks, and created new items and weapons. He even added space travel to his world. He spent hours exploring the stars with his spaceship. He visited distant planets and made friends with aliens. He even found a way to travel to different galaxies. The possibilities seemed endless, and Steve was determined to continue exploring the universe. He soon found himself spending more and more time in his modified version of Minecraft, and he started to neglect his real-life responsibilities. One night, Steve stayed up until dawn playing the game. When he finally went to bed, he had a strange dream. In his dream, he found himself in a world that was similar to his own, but it was more vibrant and alive. In the dream, he was told that he had the power to make his Minecraft world real. He was told that he could make it so that people from all over the world could visit his world and explore the space he had created. When Steve awoke, he knew he had to make his dream a reality. He set to work, modifying the game even further. He added NPCs, created quests, and made it so that players from all over the world could join his server. Within weeks, Steve's modified version of Minecraft had become popular. People from all over the world were playing on his server and exploring the space he had created. Steve had become a celebrity and was invited to conferences and events all over the world. He was even offered a job as a game developer, which he gladly accepted. Thanks to Steve's hard work and dedication, Minecraft had become a truly unique experience. Players were able to explore the stars and make friends with aliens, all while playing the game they knew and loved. Steve had taken Minecraft to a whole new level, and he was proud of what he had accomplished. He had created a world that could be explored by anyone, and he was sure it would be enjoyed for many years to come. Jared and his friends had been playing Minecraft for a while now, and thought that it was time for a change. They had all become adept at the game, and wanted something more challenging. So after some discussion, they decided to try out a mod pack. The mod pack they chose was a nuclear disaster mod. They had read about it online, and thought it sounded exciting. They knew it was going to be difficult, but they wanted a challenge. They loaded up the mod and began to explore the world. They soon found out that the mod was more than just a fun challenge. It was a real-life simulation of what a nuclear disaster looks like and how it can affect the environment. The mod changed the environment drastically. The air was polluted, the land was scorched, and the water was contaminated. The mod had also changed the mobs. Zombies were now roaming the lands, and radiation had mutated some of the animals. The mod made it so that the players had to take precautions, such as wearing radiation suits and using radiation detectors. They also had to scavenge for food and water, as well as find shelter, in order to survive. The players worked together to build shelters and fortify them with walls and traps. They also had to scavenge for resources and build weapons and tools to survive. The players had to work together to fend off the mobs and survive the harsh environment. At first, the players thought they were just playing a game, but soon realized that it was more than that. They were now dealing with a real-life nuclear disaster. They had to find ways to survive and protect themselves from the dangers of radiation and the mutated mobs. The players soon found out that the mod had a story mode as well. They had to complete missions and find a way to stop the nuclear disaster. This was a difficult task, and it required them to work together and use their wits. In the end, the players managed to complete the story mode and put an end to the nuclear disaster. They had worked together to overcome the challenges and survive the harsh environment. The mod had been a great challenge for the players, and they had enjoyed playing it. They had learned a lot about what a real-life nuclear disaster looks like, and how to survive it. They had also learned how to work together and use their wits to survive. The players had enjoyed the mod so much that they decided to continue playing it. They wanted to see what other challenges the mod had to offer, and what other stories they could uncover. They had enjoyed the mod so much that they decided to create their own version of it. They changed some of the features, added some new ones, and made it more difficult. They wanted the mod to be even more of a challenge than the original. The players continued to play the mod, each time uncovering new stories and challenges. They had found a new world to explore, and had learned a lot about nuclear disasters, and how to survive them. Jared and his friends had found the perfect challenge in the mod. They had learned a lot and had enjoyed the thrill of overcoming the challenges. They had also become even better at Minecraft. They had taken what was once just a game and turned it into a real-life experience.